To skip the autobiographical shit, hit this huge button. To those of you still sticking around, congratulations. My name is Odds, and you are currently listening to part 1 of my 3.5 Bowser Guide, Odds and Ends. I have exactly no idea how many parts this thing is going to have when I'm done, so we're probably in for the long haul. The purpose of this video is to give you some context as to what the series will be about, give you a tiny bit of background about me so you have some idea whether you should believe any of the shit I say, and to give a little bit of overview about Bowser the character, and whether or not you should be playing him. I apologize for the kinda crappy PowerPoint nature of this video. I'm just trying to get it out as quickly as possible. The rest of the series will feature gameplay, I promise. Without wasting more of your valuable time, let's get started. About me. My name is Odds. I'm 24 years old from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And for most of my life, I've actually been an RTS player. I was a top-level player, as in top 3, of both Supreme Commander games, as well as a high-level player of StarCraft 2, Red Alert 2, Demigod, League of Legends, Heroes of Newerth, and a few others. If you ever played Supreme Commander, you would probably know me as _Pink. It was within the context of Supreme Commander that I originally became something that you could regard as a competitive gamer. I read Serlin's Play to Win, I obsessively practiced against the best players I could find, got my ass beat over and over and over again, and generally acquired the mentality that it takes to become the best at something. I eventually tried to move on from that game to StarCraft, but just as I was starting to get into the swing of it, I found that joint problems in my hands were preventing me from attaining the skill level I really wanted. As much as I love RTS, my fingers just can't handle banging on a keyboard the way that's required. Fortunately, for some reason, playing Smash Bros. Doesn't actually hurt me in nearly the same way, so I've been doing that for about the last year. I'm easily a top 5 PM player in Alberta, probably the best Bowser in Canada, and certainly one of the best Bowsers anywhere. Unfortunately, that's not saying much because there are no good Bowsers. Even Jaime HR, who is widely regarded as the best right now, is actually really bad in terms of using all of Bowser's tools, though he's a phenomenal player in general. I will also note that I also suck. I'm improving at Smash Bros. And at Bowser specifically very quickly, but there are still a lot of holes in my play. I've choked at every tournament I've attended so far, and in general, my performance under pressure in Smash Bros. Hasn't quite lived up to what I've demonstrated I'm capable of in other games. So, I'm not a super high-level player yet. But the emphasis is on yet. I feel that I'll get there in time, and whether or not that's true, I still have useful information to impart, both about Bowser specifically, and about the general mentality of improvement in Smash Bros. The purpose of this guide. I really love PM. I want to advance the meta by teaching people about Bowser for a number of reasons. First, to selfishly get myself more experienced practice partners so that I can further improve. Second, so that by the level of Bowser's play increasing, and that meta advance being visible via tournament videos, streams, and so forth, the PMDT should have more accurate information as to how good Bowser actually is as a character, and whether further changes to him need to be made. Third, I would really love to help win over a lot of the people who would describe themselves as melee-only players. Those people who a lot of PM players would perhaps ungenerously refer to as melee elitists. Typically, these players describe PM as being lame, campy, or somehow undesirable in terms of how much cool stuff you can do with each character and how much skill that cool stuff takes or does not take to do. In addition to advancing the meta itself, I want to provide new players, both to Bowser and to PM itself, with the guide that I wish I'd had when I first started playing Smash Bros. Competitively. There's a lot of great learning resources out there, but not typically for PM, certainly not for Bowser, and not really anything that attempts at teaching fundamentals from the ground up, along with cool tech stuff, character intricacies, and the nitty-gritty details that can make good players great. Maybe even more significantly, there doesn't seem to be much material about how to practice, and I'd like to change that. That said, there are some great resources like Umbreon's guide, which I'll see if I can link in the comments or something. And if there's other stuff that meet the criteria I've been talking about, please send it to me and I'll link it to it in a later video. Yes, I'm aware of Ken's Marth guide, but he doesn't really have a script, and kind of just does a lot of rambling. Good, informative rambling, but sometimes it's tough to get to the good parts. Windy City Smash's Smash 101 series is also great, and kind of flawed for precisely the same reasons. Ripple, please make your goddamn video. Anyway, my philosophy with this guide is to teach a man to fish. I'll try to get as much specific stuff as I can, but I certainly won't be able to cover everything. If I've done my job right, hopefully, more people will be able to play to learn intelligently, as well as grind in the lab intelligently, and hopefully save a lot of hours of grief and frustration for people who don't really feel like they're improving and don't know why. What this guide is not. This guide is not exhaustive, as previously mentioned, though I'm certainly trying. It also will not be short. Quick estimation is that I should have about 3 hours worth of videos when this is all said and done, though many of you will probably be able to skip a lot of that. This guide is also not a quick fix. It will not make you good. It may help you learn how to become good, or help remove some obstacles that were standing in the way between you and being good, but you, as always, will ultimately have to do the work yourself. As an additional disclaimer, it does not make me good. Talking into the microphone does not make me an expert. Taking my word for a lot of the claims I make will help you short term, but in the long term, the ability to fact check and do your own research will benefit you much more. Disclaimers. First, the format of this guide is largely stolen from Emu Killer. His 3.5 Mewtwo guide is really excellent, and if you have any interest in that character, you should check it out immediately. As well as being inspired by Smash 101 by Windy City Smash, that's Chicago's Scene and YouTube channel, and Ken's Marth video, among others. I've also been greatly inspired by Mango and Tafokint's game analysis on MIOM and their Twitch channels. Disclaimer number 2, I'll probably repeat myself occasionally in this guide. I can't help it. I'm cutting quite obsessively for time, but some information will inevitably be redundant, both with this series itself, as well as the previous videos I've uploaded to PMDepot's channel. Disclaimer number 3, I will probably mess up a lot of tech in the videos due to multitasking johns. Everyone messes up, and I do it regularly, but I'll have to ask for your patience when I'm trying to talk into the microphone and perform difficult tech at the same time. Disclaimer number 4, I suck at talking. May or may not be too noticeable by this point, but I actually have a bit of a stutter, and I've been cutting it from the audio so far. I will probably lose patience with that very shortly. Without further ado, let's get started with the substance of the guide itself. Changes from 3.02. Quick disclaimer on this part, the full changes are not being listed, only the ones I think are particularly relevant. You can look up the rest on projectmgame.com. Changed number on down tilt was nerfed, both in terms of range and in base knockback. The range nerf wasn't enormous, but it is kinda annoying that this is less safe of a spacing tool while the opponent is at low percents. Still, not a huge deal. Change number 2, up smash and down smash were buffed to kill off the top better. This actually doesn't matter too much for up smash, because the move kinda sucks in general and you shouldn't really be using it anyway outside of tech chases on platforms against floaties. But the down smash buff is actually fairly significant, and will suck floaties in and spit them off the top at about 105% or so. Change number 3, Bowser's up B physics changed pretty significantly. Now, rather than floating around and having momentum while he's grounded, you can actually control Bowser's up in a tighter, more arcade-like fashion. This means that you have to use different methods to fortress hog, but overall, fortress hogging is both easier and can be done from farther away than before. The up B's aerial animation was also shortened, though to my understanding the vertical distance is the same, so that's also a win. The aerial animation was also shifted down somewhat, and I believe that makes it easier to sweet spot with Bowser. And now for the big changes. Big change number 1. Dash attack goes farther, is unclankable, and has medium armor from the frame you hit it until frame 9. It lost the second hit that tended to shield poke a lot, which is a nerf, but all considered, I regard the move as significantly better now than it was before. The unclankable property in particular means you can bulldoze through an awful lot of projectiles, which will inevitably result in a lot of very surprised Lynx and Samuses. Big change number 2, the beginning. Bowser's landing detection was significantly improved, so now, not only is wave landing significantly easier, but it is now possible to consistently perfect wave land with Bowser. This gives him a whole new means of traversing space, and allows him to be much faster when crossing the stage, extending combos, and so forth. In addition, it allows Bowser some nasty new approach options, which is pretty significant because previously he had precisely 0. Big change number 3. Bowser's jump squat got a whole 2 frames shaved off of it. A 30th of a second may not seem like a big deal to some of you nerds, but a 25% reduction in the lag Bowser experiences every single time he jumps is absolutely enormous, and he now jumps as quickly as Melee Ganondorf. This opens up a lot of options for Bowser's punish game, because forward air out of shield is now a much more viable option against laggy unsafe moves, and it also makes Bowser's wave dash pretty usable, particularly when wave dashing backwards and wave dashing out of shield. That's it for the major changes from 3.02. And now, strengths and weaknesses. If you're new to Project M and you're considering playing Bowser, or you already play PM and you're considering him as a secondary, this is probably the part in this video that's important to you. So, here we go. Bowser's strengths. First and foremost, everybody knows that Bowser has a huge punish game. He hits incredibly hard, can often kill quite early, and has some of the nastiest edge guards in PM. Whether or not he has the best edge guards in the game would be possibly a matter for some debate, but very few characters are actually able to cover extremely high recovery angles anywhere nearly as effectively as Bowser can by cancelling out of his down B. Bowser's second big obvious strength that everybody knows is that he lives a long time if opponents don't know what they're doing or can't kill him off of confirms. As an addendum to this, he can actually be surprisingly tough to edgeguard for some characters. The width of the hitbox on his up B, as well as timing mix-ups available to him with regards to when and how high he uses the up B, whether he mixes it up by using the down B to grab the edge instead, and so forth. Edgeguarding him actually requires a lot of discipline and consistency, of which many players aren't capable. Bowser's third strength is also related to his size. It's his spacing game. In particular, his jabs and his down tilt are very strong spacing tools, and cover an awful lot of space on small stages such as FOD and Yoshi's Story, and can still be threatening on larger stages. His F-tilt often seems to cover the entire stage, and he also has deceptively long range on his aerials, particularly the forward air. Alright, now we're going to get into some of the slightly less obvious stuff. First, Bowser is very strong against lack of matchup knowledge in general. The playstyle required to beat Bowser is pretty specific, and seems to be highly counterintuitive for a fairly large subset of players. Specifically, in every matchup, Bowser absolutely forces his opponent to either play a highly campy projectile game, or, more often, a very careful bait and punish game, where one touch from either player will often lead to death. As stated, a lot of very aggressive players will tend to do a lot of stuff like attacking your shield unsafely, constantly approaching, and so forth. To these kinds of players, Bowser may seem like an unwinnable matchup simply because of their impatience. This is even though the characters that they tend to play, notably Fox and Captain Falcon, actually beat Bowser fairly handily when they're played properly. Expect a lot of salt. Adding to this salt factor, particularly at low-level play, is the fact that Bowser has a relatively low tech skill floor, which is to say that succeeding with Bowser at a low level, i.e. against casuals, or in new or undeveloped PM scenes, will actually be relatively easy compared to a lot of characters. Unfortunately, this effect tapers off quite quickly as you approach mid and high level play. As another advantage, Bowser is great at exploiting and maintaining positional advantage. When you have an opponent above you as Bowser, you typically have a lot of great options to keep them above you, or to simply punish them for being up there in the first place. Similarly, if you have them off stage or pushed to the corner of the stage, your opponents will typically have a lot of trouble getting back to the center of the stage without incurring a lot of damage on the way there. Bowser is also pretty good in doubles, if and only if your opponent is pretty situationally aware and is able to get you out of getting team comboed. Bowser is an ideal support character because he hits so hard and fairly quickly from a relatively large range. In particular, the sweet spot on his forward air lets him kill doubles opponents fairly reliably and at very low percents. The final advantage that Bowser has in general, that I'll mention here, is emotional damage. No, I am not joking. Bowser has always carried, and probably always will carry, a stigma of being a bad character. Particularly in tournament, when someone loses to Bowser, they will often get in their own heads, and if tilting, tend to play even more aggressively, which is absolutely catastrophic when playing against Bowser. This effect also will taper off at higher level play, but any level player is capable of getting in his own head. If you want to win tournaments, then it's pretty good for you if your opponent does this. And now, Bowser's weaknesses. There are a lot of these. Once again, in no particular order. First off, Bowser players, even the best Bowser players such as Jaime HR, Nick Riddle, Kirk, and so forth, are, as previously mentioned, actually really bad. Bowser's meta is quite undeveloped, and literally nobody has really capitalized on all the tools that Bowser has available to him in 3.5. While this means that most opponents won't have much significant Bowser matchup experience, it also means it's fiendishly difficult to get experience against good players who understand the Bowser matchup. Second, Bowser gets punished really hard. While this is once again mostly by players who know what they're doing in the matchup, it is incredibly frustrating to play a character who's ostensibly all about punishes, and yet his opponent tends to combo Bowser at least as hard as Bowser tends to combo them. Also, as a counterpoint to one of his strengths, Bowser's actually really tough to gain stage position with in the first place. Coming down from the air or from platforms can be relatively difficult, and gaining center stage from one of the corners can also be extremely frustrating, especially against characters with strong dash dances like Marth or Fox. Along the same lines, Bowser's extremely weak to grabs and dash dance camping in general. Because Bowser's relatively immobile and has absolutely no tools to stop opponents from dash dancing, in some matchups you are inevitably going to have to throw out moves that are unsafe against dash dance campers, and for these you will be punished. Exacerbating this problem is that Bowser effectively has no spot dodge, and in many positions you'll actually find that if you spot dodge a grab, your opponent can simply laugh and punish you by grabbing again. As a result of this and other weaknesses, Bowser has a super bad neutral game in general, mostly on bigger maps. He's also vulnerable to intelligent projectile camping, though that said, his dash dance allows him to very swiftly punish opponents who poorly space their projectile games. Even though Bowser's out-of-shield game is excellent against people who pressure him closely, his out-of-shield options do actually kinda suck against opponents who space a bit better. If your opponent is able to bait out your up B, you can often kiss your ass goodbye. While Bowser's edgeguards are amazing, Bowser can also be very easy to edgeguard for some characters with strong meteors or spikes, such as Ganondorf, Marth, Diddy, Mewtwo, Ivysaur, and others. Bowser's tech skill is not super applicable to other characters. Perfect wave landing is cool, but it's not very applicable to characters other than Bowser and Ganondorf. B reversing can also be important, but the timing and spacing for things like Flame Cancel, Koopa Claw, and so forth may not be as transferable to other characters as the fundamentals you would learn by playing someone like Zero Suit Samus or Marth. Finally, in my opinion, Bowser requires pretty strong reflexes in order to play properly. This means not only reaction time in general, but also the ability to very quickly choose the optimal punish option in most situations. This weakness can largely be mitigated through simple practice. And that about wraps it up for this video. Hopefully, the next one should be up within a few days or so. Episode 2 will basically be a hugely expanded version of a video I previously uploaded onto PMDepot, featuring what to practice with Bowser and how. Thanks for watching.